Man, made in the image of God, has a purpose, to be in relationship to God, who is there. Man forgets his purpose, and thus he forgets who he is and what life means. Biblical orthodoxy without compassion is surely the ugliest thing in the world. True spirituality consists in living moment to moment by the grace of Jesus Christ. If we do not show love to one another, the world has a right to question whether Christianity is true. If Christians win a battle by using worldly means, they have really lost. The beginning of men's rebellion against God was and is the lack of a thankful heart. Our relationship with each other is the criterion the world uses to judge whether our message is truthful. Christian community is the final apologetic. Reformation is a return to the sound doctrine of the Bible. Revival is the practice of that sound doctrine under the power of the Holy Spirit. Each generation of the church in each setting has the responsibility of communicating the gospel in understandable terms, considering the language and thought forms of that setting. No totalitarian authority, nor authoritarian state, can tolerate those who have an absolute by which to judge that state and its actions. The Christians had that absolute in God's revelation. No work of art is more important than the Christian's life, and every Christian is called to be an artist in this sense. The Christian's life is to be a thing of truth, and also a thing of beauty in the midst of a lost and despairing world. Christianity is the greatest intellectual system the mind of man has ever touched. Doctrinal rightness and rightness of ecclesiastical position are important, but only as a starting point to go on into a living relationship, and not as ends in themselves. Christianity provides a unified answer for the whole of life. The inward area is the first place of loss of true Christian life, of true spirituality, and the outward sinful act is the result. There is a sad myth going around today, the myth of neutrality. According to this myth, the secular world gives every point of view an equal chance to be heard, and it works fairly well, unless you are a Christian. Art is a reflection of God's creativity, an evidence that we are made in the image of God. One of the greatest injustices we do to our young people is to ask them to be conservative. Christianity is not conservative, but revolutionary. In passing, we should note this curious mark of our own age. The only absolute allowed is the absolute insistence that there is no absolute. Tell me what the world is saying today, and I'll tell you what the church will be saying in 7 years. He who loses the arts loses the culture. I have come to the conclusion that none of us in our generation feels as guilty about sin as we should, or as our forefathers did. Truth always carries with it confrontation. Truth demands confrontation, loving confrontation nevertheless. If our reflex action is always accommodation, regardless of the centrality of the truth involved, there is something wrong. I believe that pluralistic secularism, in the long run, is a more deadly poison than straightforward persecution. If Christianity is really true, then it involves the whole man, including his intellect and creativeness. Christianity is not just dogmatically true or doctrinally true. Rather, it is true to what is there, true in the whole area of the whole man in all of life. Christianity is not just involved with salvation, but with the total man in the total world.